Speaking of Excel,
Sure, yeah. Welcome to the 2 Decades Too Late podcast, everybody.
I mean, we track it all in a spreadsheet. It's a Google sheet,
Yeah.
but
It is a Google sheet. Can you pivot? Can you do pivot tables in
pivot!
Google?
I don't even get that reference. It's not
You
even.
don't.
Nope.
You
I didn't
do
even
realize-
do it right.
In all seriousness, in 10 years, you are going to get less than 5% of cultural jokes.
Oh yeah. I will have
Like,
nothing because I don't watch any TV that I
No,
haven't
nothing.
already seen. So like I'm not getting fresh references at all.
No. Like, you missed Modern Family, and that's a big one. Like,
that
was our...
Astounded to find out that Donald Glover had anything to do with Community. I found that out this week.
Get the fuck out of here.
I live
didn't know
under a
that?
rock.
Never mind. I might have oversold for 10 years. I think you might be
I'm
in it.
there. Yeah, I'm in it. I'm in it hardcore.
Have you watched The Bear?
No, absolutely not.
Why? It's as good as, it might be better as advertised because you like cooking.
I get it.
It's more for you than most of the people watching it.
Right? This is easily the most difficult part of Brad's friendship with me.
It's brutal.
Yeah.
Like, the worst part is just because it's all so good. Everything, I've never tried to ask you to watch anything that I didn't know for sure. Listen, guys, if you don't know this, and again, it would be slightly odd if you didn't know this, but if you don't, that means you're listening to us because of whatever reason, and that's awesome. But we have been friends now for 27 years.
Long time.
So I'm pretty good. Like being able to go, this is good. I promise.
And coincidentally, my wife and Brad have the same taste in movies. Like anything that Brad says is good, she is 100% on board with.
And mostly TV shows too.
Yeah.
I mean, I think there's some difference there, but like she watched Wednesday, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's so okay. I can't keep doing this. I'm gonna have an aneurysm. I'm kidding. It's not that big of a deal, except you are missing a lot of cool shit.
Yep.
That's really all it is. But yeah, welcome to the 2 Decades Too Late podcast. I know I kind of already said that, but then we shot super far afield. This is the podcast in which, well, I'm Brad hanging out with Josh, if that wasn't abundantly clear after that entire rant.
Hey!
This is the podcast in which we rate and review an album that is turning 20 years old, mostly metal for whatever it's worth. Josh and I each give a rating of 1 to 5 to 4 different parameters for an individual maximum point total of 20 and a combined maximum point total of 40.
20. And
$20.
this week on the podcast, Ronnie Lynn Deutsch has Bury Your Dead, the Cover Your Tracks album.
Scruff McGruff, Chicago, Illinois, 60652.
Help take a bite out of crime.
I don't know, Craig. So before we get into Bury Your Dead, Cover Your Tracks, I have a bigger question for you about the relationship between our podcast and hardcore music going forward.
Oh, okay.
So we did one with the Underdogs, Terror, right? And we knocked it out in like 20 minutes or something.
Yeah.
20 minutes.
Yeah.
And I just want to be very clear for everyone listening. I am a bigger hardcore fan than anyone you know.
Yeah.
I promise you that. There is no way around it. But like not what I listen to all the time, and I can appreciate the fact that a lot of it is just kind of like Neanderthal music.
Yeah, why? How could you listen to it all the time?
Right. So I do love it dearly. So when I'm about to say this, but like there's nothing to say. Really. And I don't know if maybe going forward we should specifically put hardcore albums in jam sessions. You know what I mean?
That's
like
probably a good call. I don't know. We'll see where this one goes.
Yeah, like this album was massive in my life and yours. I mean, it was ridiculous. I mean,
I had that same thought that like I'm listening to it and I'm like, what's to say?
Oh,
and are we gonna get Throwdown in 2004? We do, don't we?
I think that came out in 2003, actually.
Damn.
And I think we missed it. Am I wrong about that? Throw Down Haymaker. 2003.
And then Vendetta was probably 05.
Probably. Vendetta is... Yep, 05.
All right.
Something to do next year.
Yeah. At least you got something to do.
My leg keeps falling asleep. You got something to do. Yeah, but just to kind of make the point, like track 10, Legend, my only note is literally nothing to add.
I had this one is something.
So, like, again, this album was a big deal, and we'll talk about it. I just kind of wanted to get that out of the way, because I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know. You know what I mean? I love it, but it's like, is any song that much different than the rest? I mean, Magnolia obviously is a standout. But
absolutely, yeah.
But at the end of the day, how different is it? 10%.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Maybe even not, because they do that same thing like in the first track. So I don't know. I think actually, you know what? The All Music review probably captures it, because that's what they do. The reviewer gave it a 2.5 out of 5. The user review is a 4 out of 5, which I definitely understand both. But
100%.
Their summary is, cathartic as it may be, cover your tracks as a joyless experience. But if this kind of threatening, disturbing musical presentation is your bag, Bury Your Dead do it about as well as any of the aforementioned. And then they talk about Throwdown, Killswitch, and Hatebreed.
Killswitch being the outlier in that grouping, but yeah, that's fair.
Musically, yeah, but like from a rise up gumption standpoint, I'd put them all kind of even. And actually, I think that's where Cover Your Tracks kind of takes a left turn from those three, is like, it is not. And I think that's the key to why this album in particular hit as hard as it did when it did. Yeah,
at the time, for sure. We'll talk about it.
So, Bury Your Dead, Boston, Massachusetts. Boston, where they pronounce words wrong. They were active for 3 years at this point. So actually, we've had a long stretch of kind of like older bands. And we're back to the early 2000s startups here. They did have a prior release, You Had Me at Hello, in 2002. I don't know what this guy's obsession with Tom Cruise is, but I guess.
Well, impossible to find now, but back in the day, I read
would you say that you were on a mission that was maybe not easy?
Yes.
Did I say impossible?
Impossible. Well done. So basically, that You Had Me at Hello was just a kind of funny thing to do for their previous album. And then when they got to the next one, they were like, how about we just name everything after Tom Cruise movie, since we called our last thing You Had Me at Hello. That was it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Notably,
Camo is my favorite color. It's an awesome song, by the way, from You Had Me at Hello.
It is, for sure. Notably, Matt kind of keeps up with that in a weird way. So when they get the different singer in the future, they don't do that anymore. But when Matt's back in the band, the first album that they release after that is everything's a Kurt Vonnegut novel.
Yep. Which is impressive. I would not have known he wrote that many books.
Oh, he wrote a lot of books. And they're all pretty good. They're weird.
He's one of those, right? Well, hey, I'm not going to try to even act like I read. I don't, ever. But, like, he's one of those, like, authors that the people I know that are into it make me never want to read it.
That's
you know what
totally
I mean? Like,
fair. Yep.
Anyway, but yeah, you're right. Because even if you go to the next album, which future albums and this band are an interesting part of my opinion now on this album, which we will get into. But Beauty and the Breakdown, which is so good.
Yeah.
Just so a force to be reckoned with. Those are all about fairy tales, so that's cool.
It is cool.
And so it's
the Poison
cool
Apple.
To have a theme.
So fucking good.
One of the best. This brings this up, and we might as well talk about it. Would you call this band? They really like to call them metalcore.
No, absolutely. I saw that and I thought, like, this person only heard Magnolia.
Well, but it's like everywhere refers to, and I don't
really.
I understand that no one calls them straight hardcore.
That's so weird because Bury Your Dead is like the definitive hardcore for me, and I know Hatebreed exists, so please don't come at me, but like for me, like, yeah.
So I think the discussion is interesting because, like, really, if you were going to define hardcore by like an example of a band, it'd probably be like Madball, which sounds nothing like this at all. I mean, they couldn't be more different, but I don't really hear the metal part here. Like, they're not playing like a fucking At the Gates riff or a Metallica riff even, or like a Judas Priest lick or Iron Maiden harmony. Like,
right.
I don't hear it, but I interestingly don't know how to argue it because I know where New York hardcore comes from. So it's like, I understand. Like, it's almost like
I don't know what genres are, and I know that this is not metalcore.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. I know I can't call it metalcore, but I can also, in my mind, completely understand not wanting to call it hardcore. And I've never thought about it until this listen through. And frankly, I can't get past it. Like, it's killing me because I am very, like, I understand class is a conversation that is way bigger than we're going to have here.
Sure.
But without classification, it is truly difficult to be in an organized world.
We're supposed to be living in a society.
So it's like, and now given, I'm not meaning that in a sense that it could easily be taken. So please don't. I'm not.
Yeah, we're talking about
podcast
purely classification of things into categories here.
Exactly.
An ordering structure.
And I specifically, that is one of my isms. Like,
yeah.
Real bad. And so this has, I still can't reconcile the situation. Like, I have no idea what to do. It's like, there almost needs to be like you
can do a Jared Dines, make up your own genre. Turbo Snail.
Right. Turbo Snail.
Soda can.
God,
I love that video.
So I'm just going to call this Salty Swayze. That's going to be the Salty Swayze genre.
Weirdly apt, actually.
I know. I just don't know what to do with it. And again, I won't harp on it too much, but I do need everyone to know that I've basically lost sleep over this.
It was a Victory Records release, so like that kind of places it.
It does. Victory was a very specific thing.
Yep.
October 19th, 2004. The
seems
dudes
appropriate
on this
that
album
it came out in October. I don't know why, but I'm like, oh yeah, that totally makes sense.
I actually weirdly agree with you. But we've got Matt Brusso on vocals, Brendan Slim, in quotations, McDonald on guitars, Eric Ellis on guitars.
At a farm.
I think Brendan, for the most part, remained in the band until like right after Mosh and Roll, maybe, or something.
He made it to 2019, yeah.
Rich Casey on bass, Mark Castillo on drums, and he is a fucking monster.
He is. I didn't realize the ties that, well, okay, so we're talking about members. I didn't realize, first of all, that Bury Your Dead had so many members, or that they kind of started as like a side project. And I didn't realize like how much those musicians have touched other bands. Like Mark Castillo played drums on the Silent Circus, which now that I know that, you can totally hear in Mordecai.
100%. Yeah. Yeah, it's really nuts. So, I mean, and then Slim was in Blood Has Been Shed.
Yep.
And
Slim Chickens.
But yeah.
Now, I got to look at this now. Like, so now I'm curious on like the discography, like who and where everybody is on releases.
I will say, despite them showing like multiple lead vocalists, it was really just
Matt and Mike.
No, Matt and Mike. I mean, mostly, but as far as albums go, anyway.
Yeah.
But just an obscene amount of members in this fucking band. It's ridiculous.
A lot of dip in guitar players, really.
Wait, so Matt wasn't on You Had Me at Hello?
Yeah, I did not know that.
But it sounds just like him.
That just blew my mind.
Holy shit. Who the fuck is Joe Kruko?
He's
I don't know what to do with that. It sounds exactly the same. It literally, it sounds a little worse, like a vocalist figuring it out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like it was
which
the
makes
2002 version of him instead of 2004.
Wow. I had no idea. Just none whatsoever. Wow.
Yeah, cool. This was actually fascinating to dig into. Like, the album itself is what it is, but like, this is a situation where the band is super interesting.
It's really funny. And like, two totally different bands once Mike got in too. Like, I don't.
Yeah.
You can bookend this. Like, there's Matt, and then Mike.
Yeah.
Like,
and
it's odd.
Totally hated when Mike joined, and then because it wasn't Matt, it was Bury Your Dead that wasn't Matt. But then, like, years later, it came on shuffle, and I was like, oh, man, this song's really sick. And I was like, oh, shit, it's Bury Your Dead? I like this a lot.
Yeah, it's all really good. Yep. And I didn't really notice that until, like, a year ago.
Yeah.
So I'm with you 100%. When Matt left, I left. Like, I was like, all right, I'm done with that.
And I love Mike's albums. I really do.
Yeah. They're really good. They're just nothing like Matt's.
Nope.
Just nothing. So as far... I mean, I don't know, man. As far as the tracks, they sound the same.
They really don't.
I know.
This was the first time that
like,
I've heard them not sound the same. Like, in a critical list, yeah. I was blown away. I was staggered.
Interesting. Because, I mean, you're not wrong, but at the end of the day, 3/4 of the album is a breakdown. So it's
That's true. There's definitely a kit of parts.
Yeah, you're right. Again, I said it when we did Terror. If you like the first track, Top Gun, I have no idea why you wouldn't like every track on the album. I have no clue. There would be no reason whatsoever for you not to like it all.
Yeah.
None whatsoever. Top Gun's a great song. It's as capital, well, again, in the sense in which we are talking about it in this situation, capital H, capital C, hardcore. I just can't get past
Hoko Propo?
The genre thing. Yeah, it's killing me. It's fucking killing me.
Yeah, it's a sick way to start an album, too.
It is. The break in the middle before it goes into, like, the breakdown, maybe the breakdown on the entire album, is just massive. Pummeling. Which, by the way, we'll get into it more in the production, and I actually have a funny tidbit for you once we get there.
I'm excited.
But, like, how a band that was nothing before this got such a good production from a person I had never heard of, like, it's pretty good. But, like, and it's immediately present on Top Gun. Like, wow, this is sick.
Yeah, and it's present all throughout. Actually, I think the band members even talked about the producer, like, contributing in a very meaningful, a lot the way you talked about Clutch. I didn't dig that deep into it to see his impact, but, like, you can understand his impact when you start to dig into, like, Mission Impossible has a weird clap part that I've never heard.
Dude, is there anything more 2004 than that, like, 3 seconds of music where the song completely stops after a breakdown, does a clap, and then goes into a 2-step.
Yeah.
That is
a microcosm.
2004.
Yeah.
I mean, that explains the whole thing. You don't need to go watch a documentary on early 2000s metalcore. You need to listen to Mission Impossible from this album, and you'll learn everything you need to learn.
Yep.
That's not true, but at the same time, it's not entirely untrue.
To your
yeah,
point,
I love that clap.
Yeah, I had never noticed that before.
Oh, when I was doing my first listen through, I listened to this album to death.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I instinctively did the clap. I didn't even remember necessarily it being there, but I was in my car and I did the clap.
That's sick.
So I was like, wow, I was yeah.
To your point though about like it sounding a lot the same throughout and having a kit of parts, like so Mission Impossible starts off with a left pan at the beginning, and then Eyes Wide Shut, the very next track, the guitar starts off, but it's panned right this time.
Yep.
So like,
and it's like that is different technically, but
yeah.
it's not.
Yeah.
And I will say too, so if you're into this genre and you've listened to this, I think you're gonna know Top Gun, you're gonna know Magnolia, and you're gonna know The Color of Money.
Yeah,
I wouldn't, or at least The Color of Money. I would even say over Magnolia because The Color of Money was like their first single with the music video.
Yeah,
like the quote unquote music video where they were all in their
suits,
mafia, stupid shit. Yeah, and so you probably know that, but I do think it's very important to point out that if you're gonna lump all of those together and say, yeah, this is what I know Bury Your Dead to be in my heart, you need to add Mission Impossible to that list.
Yeah,
like,
I agree.
It's an incredible track. The whole like little high pitch part, like, is awesome. It's simple but effective.
Yep.
Yeah, that song stands out for me a lot. And the last breakdown in the song is a fucking monster.
Risky Business too, man. Risky Business is a super sick track. I've always liked the drums. I like that he does that fill all throughout. And man, there's a guitar swell in the left headphone at a certain point. Yeah. Right before break. It's man, it's good.
It's funny because like it's probably my least favorite song on the album. Just because cut a minute out of that. You don't need.
Yeah, it is the longest track. It's the only
hilariously
one that's over 3 minutes. All the Right Moves is just 3 minutes dead.
Yeah, and I did talk about that. It's funny going from Clutch and then like Zayo before that, and what did we do? Well,
yeah.
Oh yeah, and then Jimmy.
What's that, Brad?
Yep, Jimmy Eat World.
Yeah.
Like, and we talked about it on that album. Like, they're so long. So many of the songs are so long. And then this album, it's like the longest by a landslide is 4 minutes, 25 seconds.
Yes.
And the song would be really good. It's just, at the end of the day, there's 4 parts in that song.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to be 4:25. And I hate the ending of that song.
Yeah.
I find it obnoxious. Like, I think it's literally irritating to me the way that they're doing like that kind of high pitched feedback thing.
Oh yeah.
And like, I'm like, why now do you have to try to be experimental with a breakdown? Like, I don't. It doesn't add. I don't know. Yeah. Like I already said, Legend at track 10. It just gets lost in the sauce for me. I don't.
Yeah.
It's a song.
It is a song.
It is.
It's a nice, I think, song on the lyrics. Lyrics, he's working through some stuff, definitely. But this one seems more geared toward like a thank you or an homage to somebody.
What the fuck? What does... Oh, so track 2, Vanilla Sky.
Uh-huh. That one pounds.
Just because... Huh?
That song pounds.
I don't like that. I do not like that.
Put this track on and go straight to Pound Town.
Fucking goddamn it. What in the world does just because I'm so alone doesn't mean I can't miss home mean?
Man, I like that lyric.
No sense. It makes no sense. That is when you would miss home if you were alone.
I mean, yeah, but like...
And he's saying it like, you can't tell me I can't miss home just because I'm alone. It's like, no, I wouldn't.
Yeah.
What? Like, no, you're alone. You miss home.
It's probably like, dude, that's so deep.
It's the dumbest lyric I don't know. I don't like this guy's lyrics, I'm realizing after this. Like, they get better. Like, in the next... my biggest problem with this album as a whole is how good the next album is.
Yeah, that's totally fair.
It dwarfs this in almost every way.
Which is funny because when Beauty and the Breakdown came out, I don't think we were all that into it. We're like,
no, but
yeah, Beauty and the Breakdown, yeah.
Yeah,
people from Phoenix are Phoenicians. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Awesome. So today, I mean, Beauty and the Breakdown it's not even,
master
you almost
class.
can't compare them. Yeah. I mean, honestly, I don't have anything else to say about the tracks. It just is what it is. So if we can get into the review.
Yep.
Review time. Dicks.
Dickhaters? Decators? Decators? Dick haters.
Yep. Yep, one of them.
Sure.
Decators? I've been trying to get something going. I just don't know what it is.
Moon skunks?
Moon skunks. I can see that being a really obscure, like a company making an off-brand Pokemon to try to compete.
Gotta catch just the one. There's only one.
Gotta catch more than you need. Gary, I think Moon Skunks is a great idea.
The Moon Skunks trading card game.
In Soviet Union, mother skunks you. Moon skunks you. Mother skunks you too.
Mother Skunker is gonna be my new favorite, like, pseudo swear word.
We're gonna drop that new album from Mother Skunk Bug.
What'd you think of the album, Art?
I hate it.
That's great.
I gave it a 1.
I gave it a 4.
Jesus. Yeah, I think it's terrible. I think the mafia fixation thing has not aged particularly well.
Definitely not.
I think they basically just used it as a stupid excuse to put a woman's midriff on an album cover, which is like not necessarily offensive, but it's close. I don't like anything about it. I hate it. Yeah, 1. Damn. I'd give it a 0 if I could.
Damn.
Yeah.
Well. I gave it a 4 because of the association with the Color of Money music video still so strong in my mind. And we were all about it at the time. I do.
Oh, for sure.
As far as an arrangement of composition goes, I like it way better than the photograph for the Funeral of God album. Like,
interesting. I mean, I do. The one part that I do like is that it's like weirdly half black, half white.
Yep.
And I don't know if that was on purpose or if that was accidental. It seems like it was on purpose, but
it definitely has to be on purpose. Like,
yeah.
The dude is so washed out in his black suit, but he's got like the white cuff showing. I think as far as a photograph goes, it's a really well balanced photograph. Like whoever
I will give
the decision to, like, as a piece of artwork, I think it's well done. And I like the text down at the bottom. It's super hard to read right now, but you're right.
It sure is.
All the points you made are totally valid.
Yeah. And same, actually. It's kind of interesting because I don't have an argument in anything you said either. So it's funny that we landed on such opposite
it really is
scores. But that's what this is about.
Yeah, it is.
All right, good. I'm glad that went that way because I kind of felt bad a little bit. I was just like, I don't know why I hate this so much. I mean, as soon as I looked at it in a way to give it like a rating, I hated it so much immediately.
Yeah.
I feel I don't know.
I get it.
Yeah, fair enough. So for the production then versus now, what are you thinking?
I had a 3, and then I was thinking it was a 4, but I'm gonna put it back at a 3. The guitars are super forward for me. And for him to be such a good drummer, I think he gets washed out a little bit. His fucking snare drum. But now that I know he played on the Silent Circus, it's like, oh, he just has that snare drum. That's just his preference for sound.
Yeah. Interestingly enough, I looked up the guy who recorded it.
Uh-huh.
He's a Berkeley professor.
Uh-huh.
I think.
He is.
The name is not super, like, the name's kind of normal enough to where I
Matthew
was second guessing it. Yeah.
But he is.
So I emailed him.
Music engineering and production professor at Berkeley. You emailed him?
I did. I emailed his Berkeley email because it was on their website.
That's amazing.
I just was like, hey, I'm not trying to bother you. I do a podcast. I was just curious if you were the same Matthew Ellard that recorded Cover Your Tracks by Bury Your Dead. And then I was like, and if you have the time or the want, I am curious how you got the snare and the kick sound.
Yeah.
So we'll see how it goes. Maybe we'll get a response. Who knows?
That is
we'll check back in.
Incredible.
Yeah. I'm just sitting here and I'm like looking at the Berkeley site and I'm like, I mean, his email's right there. Like, the worst that's going to happen is he's not going to respond, and that's fine.
Right.
Hey, past decaders. We clearly still haven't figured that out, or I don't even really know why. I think there should be a name for all of you lovely people, but this is Future Brad. Just wanted to give the update that the very nice producer of this album did respond to our email. No drum replacements were used, and he was as surprised as us that this album was turning 20. So, yeah, enjoy the rest of the episode, and I'm out. So you gave it a 3. I'm going to give it... See, I'm in the same boat. I'm right at a 3 and a 4, and I don't... You know what? Since you landed on a 3, I'll land on a 4 since we were both kind of teetering back and forth, so that way we even it out.
There you go. So, interestingly enough, also on the producer, Matthew Ellard, his credits for music production go back to the 90s. He's credited on a Tina Turner album.
Tina fucking Turner. That's why I emailed
Motorhead album.
Yeah.
He's credited on Converge, Jane Doe, and You Fail Me. He's credited on Fear Before the March of Flames. And he's also credited on the song Frosty the Snowman from the Christmas with the Cranks soundtrack.
That is bananas. Like, that's why I emailed. I was looking through that list and I'm like, I just can't reconcile how this dude ended up producing the first real release from a band, Bury Your Dead. Right. Like, it makes absolutely no sense. But that's how you have no budget and you make something sound awesome, is you get a dude who really knows what he's doing.
Right.
So I will say the then is strong as shit with this album. The then is probably a 5. It's the now. It didn't age particularly well. There's some stuff. And you're right. The drums are pretty drowned out at times. Like, it is very guitar heavy. But yeah. I'm just going to go ahead and say way less complicated on this next one for this particular album.
Yeah.
I mean, what is the impact at the time for you, Josh?
I mean, it's nothing but a 5.
Yeah, you're right. I agree. I mean, it can't... I mean, I'm pretty sure that's why I started swinging my guitar around my head. Like, is because of that music video. The DVD was why I started wearing plain white shirts. I mean, like, I wanted to be in that band. Like, that was what I wanted my identity to be. So, yeah.
Samesies. Like, there's really not a whole lot to say.
Yeah. Unreal how much of an impact it's almost so impactful, there's no way to even sell it, so I'm not going to try.
Right. So then how much...
Enjoyed listening... Yeah. So I don't know how to... This is where knowing their future music hit me the most in this particular field. Also, I just had such a fun time listening to Clutch before this, you know, and I just like, I can't listen. I love this album. I do, but I didn't want to listen to it. And therefore I didn't really enjoy doing so. I mean, it was like a 2.
Damn.
Like, I just, yeah, and it makes no sense really, but that's how I felt. Like, I can't, it is what it is. Like, I'm in the middle of this thing going, why the fuck am I listening to this? Yeah, why don't you play another breakdown? Why don't you do that? and why don't you cry some more? Like, yeah, that's great. What about you?
I gave it a 5. It's
all right.
I wanted some.
I'm glad.
Yeah, I was kind of the opposite. It was like I could use a breakdown after Clutch. Like that was a lot of listening for lyrics. And also like as many times as I've listened to this album, I've never really like critically listened to it. So I noticed a lot of the panning, the weird shit they were doing in production, the clap that I had never heard before. So like there were nuggets to be like, oh yeah, this kind of listen. It added something for me today. Like if you ask me on a different day, probably maybe not.
Super fair. And to be I mean, maybe it is too, just the fact that I didn't just listen to this album a lot. I mean, that's like all I listened to for like a year. I mean, that's not entirely true, but like
it's close.
It's not super far off. And to the point where this listen through, I was just like, been here. I have done that. Yes. Thank you.
Now I want to listen to The Poison Apple.
Yep, and that's what I did. I listened to Beauty and the Breakdown, and then I listened to Mosh and Roll after, and they're both better.
There you go.
Yeah.
I dress myself my own funeral tonight. Come on.
Man, that album is... He's not crying on that thing.
Nope.
That is super sick, where he goes, well, what's the one about the fist? A closed fist is a powerful thing. You'll hit the ground if you know what I mean.
Damn.
Yeah, dude. And that's what I want from a fucking hardcore record.
Yeah.
I don't want the insanely confusing lyric, just because I'm so alone doesn't mean I can't miss home. Anyway, all right. We've got a score of 17 for you and a score of 12 for me. That is surprising. I'm not going to lie. If you told me like even a week ago that I was going to end up on a 12 for this, I would not have believed it. Though it had to be real time, like for me to, that's wild. So total of 29, which really still isn't that bad of an overall score. All right. Well, what is your favorite song?
It is now, has always been, and forever will be Magnolia.
Got it. I figured as... my favorite... Interesting enough, even though I just kind of shit on it, it is difficult to choose. I'll do Top Gun.
That's a good call.
All right, so these two songs, Magnolia and Top Gun by Bury Your Dead, off the album Cover Your Tracks, will be added to our Spotify playlist. TDTL favorites. Favorite songs?
Who knows?
I don't know what I'm doing. And you can check us out on Instagram if you'd like at TDTL_podcast. Man, your screen is doing some weird ass shit. Hey, past decaders. Yeah, I'm still going to keep trying to use it. It's Brad again from the future. We had some technical difficulties at the end of this episode, so we will not have our traditional walkout from Josh as far as saying that he's been him and I've been me. So I will go ahead and say thank you for listening to the episode. And he was Josh and I was Brad, and well, technically am just again from the future, and we were 2 decades too late.